Good evening, we are OEeliya. It is a grand pleasure and an honor to be able to speak with you in this way. Those of us in the unseen world, what you would probably call beyond the veil, which is quite thin at this point, watch you with great loving hearts and loving eyes. We always want you to know how much you are truly loved. We want you to remember deep in your heart that you are indeed the great ones. Out there on the edge of creation, you are the ones that are the adventurers. And you know, anytime you are one of those that are cutting the path, so to speak, that the great adventurer that many and most will not take, there are always those places in the journey when you get to recognize yourself. You get to recognize how it is that you perceive your own reality and what it is that you really, really think about yourself and about the world and about others. And so it is a grand journey indeed. And because of that, you know, it takes a lot of courage to do that. You are what would be called the brave ones. Some like the word brave hearts. So if you would please allow that to sink into your consciousness, into your heart and into your body, that indeed that is truly who you are. And as we move, all of us, not just you on this planet, not just this planet, but all living things, as we all move through this beautiful journey of the expansion of creation, please remember what a glorious gem you are in the heavens and on the earth. Come to a place within yourself where you can hold yourself in as great esteem and honor as we do you. You all have beautiful, beautiful hearts and wonderful intentions. And so we wanted to speak with you this evening about what's going on. What's up with this thing you call your earth? What's up with what's going on around here? What is all of this about? What is this thing that is called the age of Aquarius, the new age, the new way of being on this planet? What on earth is this? And what on earth are you in this entire process? And we wanted to speak to you about this because it's very important that you really understand and you grasp what really is going on, so that you don't get caught in some of the processes that are happening in this birthing process. If you've ever watched or been a part of something that is birthing brand new, you know that there are times in that journey and in that process that will stretch the consciousness, that will be the challenges of either the body or the mind and all other sorts of ways in the birthing process, as one is moving from an old world to a brand new world. On this earth, because of you and all of those like you, that were willing and have been willing to reach for a higher consciousness, to reach for more truth, to reach for what you call justice, to reach for the survival of the planet, the survival of the plants, the survival of the animals, the survival of the water, because of you. And you are many on this planet, doing lots of different things, holding the light of a higher consciousness that is truly the love and the honor and the gratitude and the compassion for life. You are the ones that reach and reach and reach out of the darkness into a new way. Because of you, you have accomplished a great deed, and your earth and all of the living things on this planet are moving into something, a way of being that has never been in creation. There is nothing greater than what is happening here. There are no beings that are greater than you. What is happening on this planet is an expansion of creation, an expansion of consciousness that has never happened before. You all came from the densest of the darkest that has ever been created, which you call the great wars that happened in most of your lifetimes. Some of you came a little after that. There was nothing darker or denser in creation, and you have brought it out of that, out of the muck and the mire of that type of density, into an expansion of something that has never been before. You see, those of us in the unseen world, those that are in your heart, in your spirit, called forth for the expansion of life, of creation. And it has been called by many things. It is called enlightenment. But this enlightenment is far beyond what was possible before. That's why it's such brand new ground, and many of you don't really understand it and don't really know what is happening and don't really know that what is the milieu, the environment that you are in at this time is simply a fertile ground for you to create something that has never been before. This consciousness upon which you stand at this time is a launching place. And it is you, the grand creators, that are determining what comes next. And so to think that there is something already planned, that is already created somewhere that you're moving into, is not correct. What is correct is that you, in this birthing process, are learning how to create the exquisiteness of life from your heart, from your spirit, and from your greatest dreams, and even beyond your greatest dreams, things you cannot even dream about yet. That is your job now. So if you would imagine that there's a great body of water that at one point held many different types of species of beings and creatures and earth and water and many plants, many kinds of things. And it was evolving very slowly, and it reached a place where it was about expanded as it could be. And then something happened, and a very tightly knit net was thrown upon the surface of the water, and it began to sink. And as it began to sink, it pushed all of the creatures, including the plants, closer and closer and closer to the very bottom of the body of water, or the earth. And so it stopped, this net stopped very close to the earth, and the range of movement, the range of light, the range of sound, the range of life was very limited for a very long time. And some of the creatures learned to exist in that. But what happened over that time was they began to acclimate, as you would call it, themselves to that very limited environment, and changed the way they operated, the way they evolved. They changed the way that they perceived their reality to accommodate that very limited range of consciousness, of activity, of movement. And then there were those creatures or consciousnesses or beings that began to remember there was light somewhere beyond the net, and so they started to push. They would push the net, and some of them would actually break free from the net, and then they would find the light, and they would come back, and they would communicate to the others. There really is light up here. You know, you just have to do this and that, and if you do these things and operate this way, then you'll be able to get out from under the net and see and come to the light, just that like we have. So it took a long time, eons of time, and so more and more that were held by the net began to dream and believe that those who say that there's a light somewhere actually knew what they were talking about. And so in their dreaming and in their their actions or in their desire to be one of those that could actually float to the top and see the light and be in the light, they began to push the net up. And in time, that was actually a very short time where they were able to push the net up higher and higher and higher. And as they did, there was more and more light that was able to come through. And as they did, what began to happen was the deepest density, or you could call sludge, was sort of released, and it began to float even more. But it was still the density, and it was still the sludge. But more and more of the creatures and the beings began to be set free, or had more movement, and they could lift themselves up out of this sludge that was at the very bottom of the pond. So this net is rising, and then enough of those creatures were pushing on the net until it began to move even faster and faster and faster and faster. And when they did that, the other creatures or the other beings that were actually in the light reached down. They were able to reach down and assist those that were pushing the net up. And so this process accelerated, and it got faster and faster, and more and more and more of the creatures expanded their consciousness, expanded their dreams, expanded their drive, expanded their imagination, and began to imagine that there was a better way than what they'd lived in for such a long time. And that pushed the net up higher and higher until there was a moment when the entire pond suddenly turned on the light, suddenly everything, the light began to penetrate, and the net began to dissolve in the light. As the net dissolved, more and more were set free and could dream and could imagine and could feel the freedom of the movement that was available to them. But another thing began to happen. All of those that created the net and all of those that were at the very bottom of the pond in the sludge began to come up into the light also. And as they did that, their consciousness, their motivations, their intentions began to come into the light. And as that happened, they would either decide that the light was too much and they would disappear, they would go back down deep into the darkest of the sludge, or they would suddenly realize that whatever it was that they were doing that was so deep in the sludge was not what they wanted to do anymore. So the process accelerated anymore. And then there was a time when the net completely disappeared. And the freedom of movement was available to all of the creatures. And the consciousness began to expand. But what they began to find out was all that time that they had been so limited, everything on top of the water had also stopped expanding. Everything became sort of stagnant. Everything. And so as this net began to rise, and the consciousness began to expand, and more were reaching for the light, then it called forth from the light, and the light began to transform the sludge that had been sitting on top of the water. And those that could were pushing beyond the sludge and realizing that there was a chance to create something more beautiful, more exciting, more exhilarating, freer, more delightful, more delicious than they had ever had before. And because of who they were, because they were the ones that had been pushing the net all of this time, once they began to realize that there was this entire place of pure light and pure potential that they could now move into and begin to create something so brand new that it thrilled their spirit, because they were the ones that loved to create brand new. And their spirit began to soar, and they started to create something that had never been done before. What they learned was they had to learn how to dream again. They had to learn that they could actually create in this amazing void of potential and possibility like they had never been able to do before. They began to learn that as they tapped into this amazing void of possibility, that all they had to do was simply focus like a laser what their thought, what their dream, what their intention was. And in that void of potential and possibility, it would happen so fast that their spirit would soar even more and get more excited. And because there was more light than had ever been before and more potential, all of creation joined in this beautiful dance of creating something brand new. And it was such a different place. It was so far above. It was so far removed from what had gone on in the sludge of the pond underneath the net. It was so far removed from that all of those memories of what used to happen down there just disappeared. But they had learned so deep in their soul and deep in their spirit, they had learned that was a density that they really didn't want to do anymore. They'd had enough of that. They'd created it as dense and as dark as they possibly could, and that was enough, so they're off to another adventure. And now the adventure, with all of that wisdom, began to fly. Into a place of all possibility. And they started to dream and imagine and laugh and play and fly and move and dance together and come together in different groups that would dance together and dance together and dance together. And all of this amazing, beautiful movement started to happen. That is where you are on this planet today. That segment that we just talked about, with what was in the deepest part of the sludge, began to rise up, just sort of float up to the top and come into more light, so that everyone knew what that was. Everyone knew what had been hidden in that deep sludge at the very bottom. Everyone began to know and recognize that in that darkness, there were those that could actually create illusion that felt good. But as it all drifted into the light, there's realizations that those illusions that felt good were actually felt really, really bad. And so they didn't want to have any part of that. And all of those that really loved being in the density, in the sludge and in the darkness, got a little bit upset. You know, it's like, what happened to our little bitty world where we could have control over everything? They really didn't like it, so they would try to swim to the top. They'd try to swim into the light, but they couldn't because they didn't have the eyes to see in the light. They didn't have the ability to breathe in the lightness of the water that was so close to the top. They could not reach even the top of the water because they couldn't. They didn't want to. They couldn't see. They couldn't breathe. Nothing worked for them, and so they would go right back down into the sludge, and they would disappear from all of those beings and creatures that were moving more and more and more and more and more into this higher, more vibrant light. But in that process, they tried their darndest to try to hold on to the beings that were sort of keeping them, their little world, secure and tight and under control. They tried so hard. They tried everything. They tried putting stuff in the pond so that these that were rising to the top would actually sink to the bottom. They tried everything. And you know, there's a little place in that process that is really, you would probably call it's a challenge because the body doesn't work the way you really want it to, and the emotions can really get out of control, and the mind just goes crazy because you're moving into a whole different level of freedom and light. The mind has no idea what to do with it, and it never will, actually. But anyway, so the mind goes crazy, and then all the areas in your life, you notice we're talking about you, all of the areas in your life start to get unstable because you can't have everything in your life be the same as it was in the very limited sludge. As it moves into this higher level of where there's more and more light and more consciousness, it cannot stay the same because there's freedom in this light. There's consciousness in this light. There's awareness in this light. There are no more secrets. There's nothing else that can hide. There's nothing else that can't be known by everyone. There is nothing of the old that can be sustained in this new arena of infinite possibility of pure consciousness and pure light. So the mind goes, oh my goodness, what do I do? How do I do this? This is so hard. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make this right. I don't know how to keep this stable. I don't know how to keep things fluid and moving in the old way. What do I do? How do I handle this? How do I be with this? What about my body? It feels really, really bad. What about all this? Is this happening with my body? It's doing things I really don't want it to do, and I feel so tired, and I can't sleep, or I sleep too much, or I feel so stressed, or this. Every single one of you know the things that we're talking about, right? Of course you do. So we want you to hold on that for just a moment. Now think about your planet and think about all of humanity. Everything on this planet is going through exactly the same process, whether they know it or not. Every human, every animal, every plant, the earth itself, the wind, the sun, everything is in this process, which is extremely accelerated, moving into this place of great void of possibility, potentiality, of freedom that you have never had. Just as we just described, you think of humanity as a whole. Humanity as a whole represents aspects of the body of the planet. An example, not an example, but a corollary of that is your own body. So, in humanity, there are the places and the areas and the groups and the systems and the organs, which are called cultures and that sort of thing, the cultures and the mindsets and the dogmas and the philosophies that operate in the mental plane. They are all moving into this higher place of light and consciousness. And in that process, the areas of the body called humanity that are having greatest difficulty with this place in the rising into the light. There's a layer, we'll call it a layer, there's a realm in moving from the sludge to this beautiful light. There's this range of vibration that when these certain groups in this body called humanity begin to touch this range of vibration, it is so disturbing to them. Just like when you start to reach a range of vibration, your body that has been holding all of the old records and the old traumas and the old memories and in the genetics, as you reach into this higher realm of vibration, your body begins to tell you what is having a hard time moving into this realm of vibration. So you have all of these physical things that are going on. So in the body called humanity, there are certain elements within this body that when they move toward this certain vibration, they get really uncomfortable. And they begin to attempt to maintain the way it has been in the body called humanity. And so it would be as if in your own body there are several either places or tissues or organs in your body that are particularly laden with the toxins and the memories and the traumas. There are certain organs and places in your body that are really holding that when the rest of your body starts to vibrate higher, they have a really hard time, and so they start to shut down, or they start to scream, or they start to influence other organ systems. They start to throw off toxin that influences other systems, other organs, other parts of the body. In the body human, that is exactly what is happening with these places, these groups, these cultures. In the body of humanity that are doing the same thing. They're having a very difficult time with the new vibrations on the planet, this realm of vibration. They are revolting. They are pushing extreme in order to maintain the status quo. And because they can't, they throw off these toxins in an attempt to disrupt the entire body and keep it from moving into this higher realm of vibration. And they're doing everything they can. So it's like you have an organ in your body that's screaming at you so loud that you cannot ignore it. It is so putting off so many toxins, and it's infecting so many things that you have to listen to it, and you have to do something to help it. Well, so your human body is a little different. The body human, where there are individual beings and souls and spirits, every one of them, as we spoke of a little bit earlier, have a choice. And as their choices get more and more uncomfortable, as the body human rises into this new realm of vibration, they will go back down. They will sink into the dark sludge again. And they will become invisible to those who are moving into this other realm of vibration. They will literally move into a completely different realm in order to maintain what they consider the safest, most controlled way of living. And that is all right. Because you see, the deepest, darkest has already been created in creation, and it will always be available to those who want to go play in it. As this brand new realm of potential and possibility is expanded and experienced and explored by those who want to do that, then the realm of the levels of vibrational reality gets wider and wider and wider. And so those who want to maintain the status quo of the deep, dark sludge at the bottom of the pond, they'll get to do that. It's just that for those that are playing up here in this wondrous new playground and wonderland, won't even know that there exists somewhere. And that's all right. So with your own body, no, someone else. Okay, so about what's going on in the body of humanity, that is happening. That's what all this turmoil is about. That's why those who like to be in control are doing everything they can to spread toxin. It's your job to recognize what this process is so that you can keep your focus in this brand new playground that we're talking about. And then they would just sort of float down like they disappear. They will disappear when their little tiny narrow playground becomes they can't get out of it, and the others that are rising up into the newer realms of vibrations just don't pay any attention to them. They will actually disappear. Now, we understand that when you're dealing with the human mind, which is what all of this is that's happening with humanity, there has to be ways of dealing with the mind. Every single being, every single person that is in a human body has a human mind, and you have to deal with your human mind, and you have to learn how to train it so that it doesn't take you down this pathway into the darker parts of the water. The earth itself is another body. Humanity is one of the organs of the earth itself. The water is one of its organs. The wind is one of its organs. The different lands that have the different qualities and environments is one of its organs. The sun is one of its systems. The earth itself is experiencing exactly the same thing. And so it knows that there are places on its surface and in different ways where the organ called the body humanity has some infection in it. It has some hot spots. It has some places where the tumors are trying to grow. And so the earth herself knows that. It knows everything that is happening. And as the ones that are rising into the higher realms, send your love to the earth, to the water, to the land, to all living things on the planet. That is a support to the environment and the milieu that you live in that allows, it's like watering a plant. If you keep giving a plant food and water, it will grow and it will blossom and it will flourish. The earth is the same way. Your love and your attention and your honoring of all of the elements of the earth is the same thing. It waters it, it feeds it, it nourishes it so that it itself can flourish and grow and become the exquisite life beyond what it has ever been, because it is moving into these higher realms of vibration, into these new possibilities also. And so the human mind, the body of humanity, is part of what you would call the brain of the planet. And so there are those of you that are certain aspects of this brain that your job now is to go play around in this new wonderland where everything is possible. What does that require? What does that mean to each one of you? It means that as you're in this process of rising to the top where the light is, and then beyond that, into a whole brand new consciousness that you have the ability to expand. In fact, that is your job, if you want a job, or that is your next way of experiencing the ecstasy of life. Then there's a few things that you get to bring along with you so that it can sustain in these higher realms of vibration. And one way to think about that would be to bring along with you your body, your emotions, your mind, and begin to float into higher and higher toward the sky, higher toward the sky, toward the clouds. And as you're rising up toward the clouds, your body has to adjust, right? Yes. Your body has to adjust. Your mind definitely has to adjust because it's not used to floating. It's used to being solidly on the ground. And so then your emotions also have to adjust so that your mind doesn't continue to go crazy and tell your body, oh my gosh, we're going to die, we have to go back down. And in that process, then the emotions set off in the body certain responses, chemical responses, neurological, electrical responses that actually cause you to sort of float down into an area where you're more comfortable. Okay, so you float to an area where you're more comfortable for just a little bit. You take a little rest, and then you start moving up again. Every time reaching a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And if something really, really, really gets your attention, any emotion, any thought process, any physical response or activity, you slow down your floating ascension thing. You float down just enough to get another comfort level, to give your body a chance to adjust, to throw off the toxins, to readjust its electrical, its neurological, its chemical, its hormonal, its biological system. So it gives your body a chance to reset. So you are more comfortable. So you can have more strength and more stamina. In the resetting, in the place where you're helping your body become more comfortable and more stable, you have to take care of it. You have to give it the things that nurture it, such as really nice food and really nice water, and things that nourish it and feed the electrical system, the neurological system, all of the systems of the body, so it can all, there's a term, it will all fire up in synchronicity like a great orchestra, and it will tune itself to a higher vibration and to a more beautiful sound. And then in that process, so you give it the things that will nourish it. You also have to, because bodies are designed to move on this planet, you must move your body on this planet in a way that your body likes it. If your body's not used to moving, you have to be careful with it. So you walk along and you stroll along and you just sort of enjoy your little stroll or your little exercise until your body wants to do more. And you gently train your body to enjoy more movement, what it's designed to do, and it builds its stamina. When you get perplexed about what's going on with your body, reach out to others. Do your research. Listen to your body. If you don't know how to listen to your body and communicate with it, find someone that can teach you how to do that. Guessing from the old world way of how to take care of your body is not going to work so well anymore. That might not... That may sound like bad news to some of you, but in actuality it's very good news. Because you have available to you now different kinds of plants that are coming, that are being found. You have different types of ways of firing up the systems in your body and bringing it out of the slumber that it has been in, because there's so many toxins that have been flooding your body for all of the reasons, all the things you put in it, all the thoughts that you have, and all of the emotions that it has to sustain. Your body is so miraculous. It will give you what you ask. The more you take care of it, the more it will give you. So be kind to your body. Think of it as the most precious living thing that you could ever be in charge of. And you certainly want to take care of it. We'll talk about all of that at another time. So, and your mind, the only thing your mind has a little teeny tiny range of possibility in what it can conceive of. That's just the nature of a mind. The consciousness that is about the heart and the being is very different. So the little tiny human mind, it's very tiny actually, can only repeat what it has known. That's all it can do. So you'll have to train your mind to begin to repeat to you what you really want it to repeat. This is where learning how to think out of the old world that you've been in for such a long time. So again, you have to be kind with your mind like you have to be kind with your body, and gently massage your mind little at a time, daily, every day, as much as you can, to train your mind to focus on the very next possible step. That very next possible step might be as simple as my life can have a little bit more freedom. I don't quite know how that will work, but my life can have a little bit more freedom than I have right now, so that I have times and moments when I am completely relaxed, I am completely joyful, and my mind is quiet. It may be training your mind, little thing, to stop for just a moment to appreciate the beauty around you. That could be the next step for you. The beauty around you could be a plant, it could be a flower, it could be how the water feels on your skin, it could be a picture, it could be the water that you drink, it could be a bird, it could be anything at all that you can stop for a moment to focus on, to enjoy the sweetness and the beauty and the preciousness of it. It could be the smile on someone's face or in their eyes. Just for a moment, that might be the very next step of training your mind to look at something different. Because, see, you are rising into this whole brand new area that only has potential and possibility in it, and you have to learn to focus your attention on what it is you really want, so that all of those components and elements that are existing in that unlimited place of possibility, like a magnet. So your thought is like a magnet. It draws these particles to it, and that begin to form around it, that begin to create more life substance into it and within it, and then it grows, and before you know it, it's manifested in your life. What do we wish for you to truly understand? That these times when you can do these kinds of things, even if it's tiny, because you have lifted up out of the deep sludge and you are closer and closer to this light, this realm where this unlimited possibility is, then creation, source of all things, can give that to you, because there's the distance between that and where you are is not so great anymore. You're not having to lift up out of this deep, dark sludge in order to try to create something. That used to take eons or lifetimes or years or whatever you want to call it, generations. That used to take that long for somebody's great idea or idea of how something could be different or more expanded to actually manifest on this planet. Well, it's not like that anymore. So, when you think about your planet, send it love and know that it is healing all of those hot spots and those toxins that are spewing in certain areas of the body called humanity. However it is you can, as often as you can. Appreciate your planet, that you can walk on it, that it gives you food, it gives you water, and it gives you air. So your body is sustainable. Think about humanity and all the different levels of consciousness that exist within humanity. And continue to look and move and dream about a humanity, communities that actually honor each other, that actually adore life, that actually have what you would call integrity, that actually communicate from a place of everyone is unique and beautiful and has their place, and from a place of that, not a place of control and domination and hatred and anger and all of those things that lived so well in the very deep, dark sludge at the very bottom of the pond. When you think about humanity, think about that. And infuse, if you will, infuse the consciousness of humanity with your very own thoughts about those kinds of possibilities, with the feelings of being in a group of people, in a community of people, in a country, in a world. Some of you can't go to the world, that's all right. So bring it as small as you can, where there are groups of people that actually live that. They live in harmony, they live in balance, everyone has their own gifts, their own skills, and they love doing them, and they get to do them, and there's interaction, and there's movement, and there's happiness, and there's joy, and there's abundance of all things. And so everyone has this feeling of freedom, of life, of peacefulness, of enjoyment, because there's nothing lacking. As much as you can infuse your own mind, your own consciousness, and the consciousness of humanity with that, the faster you're going to pull all of the rest of them with you into this place of all possibility that is opening up to you. That's probably the major job for those of you that can do that. So when you think about your life, everything we've spoken of, you can apply to your own body, to your own relationships, to your own family, to your own mind, and to your own emotions, within your own self. Within your own self and your own body. Begin to recognize, to even contemplate, even consider, even think about. Today, the net is gone, and we have a world that is just waiting to give us the beautiful life that we can't even dream about, but we somehow dream about. Everyone desires freedom. Everyone desires peace. Everyone desires to love and be loved. Everyone deserves to nurture and be nurtured. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone. Everything in your body wants that also. Your body wants to be happy and healthy for you. It really does. Your world wants you to be happy. Your planet wants you to be happy. The heavens are opening up. Allow yourself to float, to think about, to consider that it really is possible. It really is possible. And let it be okay For those who want and cannot conceive of rising up in the water, they don't even realize the net is gone yet. Let it be okay. And you just keep placing your attention, intention, desire, and dreaming to a bigger, more beautiful, happier, exciting way. So what happens when you do that is that everything you're connected with, which is everything, but we may not quite go to that yet, everything will begin to shift because you are holding your attention and your focus on this higher realm of vibration where there is possibility, potentiality that has never been. It's like tapping into the source of all things. And so everything in creation will rise up. And all of the beings, all of the souls, all of the spirits are at total choice as to what they want to experience at any given time. That's the nature of it. That's the right. They get a right. That's their right to do that. It's the nature of creation. So let it be all right, and love them, and allow them to go on their journey, whether you're on their journey or not. And know that at some time, somewhere, somehow, their spirit, their soul, their divine being is going to lift them up into this new realm of potentiality and creation. Everything that we have said, you can apply to every relationship, every circumstance, your own body, the way you think, the way you feel, the way things are working on the planet. You can apply it to all of that. And as you apply it, you lift everything else with you. We have given you a lot to think about, to contemplate, to consider. We have, with our greatest desire and emotion, built for you in these few moments a more reachable ladder into this next realm of possibility. There are those of you who are going to get so excited about this because you are the first ones on the edge of creation. And as you run into the body and the mind and the emotions, that you just have to love them enough to take care of them. And there are those of you that are going to say, wow, that's such a great idea. I really want to be there. I really want to try that. I really want that. And you will reach for that in your way, in your time. And your body and your mind and your emotions will do its best to come along with you, so you have to take care of it. And there are those of you who are going to think, oh my gosh, how could I possibly ever get there? I can't even think about how to get myself out of the situations that I'm in and out of the things of this world and the job and the debt and the physical things. I don't even know how to think about that, but I really want to because I am so tired of it. You just keep reaching. Give yourself moments, just moments, where your mind is quiet, where your body you can listen to your body and nurture it and relieve your body of the anxiety and the pressure and the stress and the tension of focusing on all of that other stuff we just mentioned. Just a moment. Just give your body even 10 minutes of movement that you don't usually give it. Little steps, just little steps that you can do consistently in your days, consistently. And because of the environment, the vibrational and the consciousness on the planet today, just those little moments will open up for you more moments. More moments. Just reach a little bit. More moments. Keep bringing your mind back. Remembering our conversation tonight. Just bring your mind back to it as often as you need to. As often as you need to. We truly, from the depths of our heart, love you and honor you, no matter what steps you're taking, no matter how big or how small the steps, it doesn't matter. Know in your heart and your soul that you have all of the support that you truly need. You just have to reach. With our greatest honor, we wish you a beautiful evening with your beautiful body and your sweet family. And we wish and hope to be able to speak with you again. Until then, namaste.